G'day my friends, Marty Ware from Martys Garden. Look at these microgreens. Yep, purple Sengo radish. Well, guess what? The urban micro farm is expanding into microgreens. We're delivering to a couple of restaurants now. Would you like to see how I grow them and come with me on a delivery? I reckon it's going to be an awesome video. Come on guys. So the sun's beaming straight in here in the morning and coming onto my grow rack, which is just an old mini sort of greenhouse. And I grow them in these trays that are designed for hydroponics and for nurseries. So they're a nursery tray plus a hydroponics tray which holds the water down below. Now all the water down here actually sumps up so the microgreens stay nice and dry. They just get a bit of moisture from the night air. They've got to dry off a little bit before the delivery today. So this rack here that I've got, these are ready to go, right? And they're 2 days apart, so I do a weekend delivery and the beginning of a week delivery. And so this one will be ready to go in a couple of days. So really stoked. So this is the Monday delivery, and this will be the Friday delivery. So a bit more than a couple of days to go. These ones are going to be really big by the end here. But we always have a backup tray, which I've got down below, coming up through, and I'll give you a look at these guys down here. Pretty cool. Alright, so we're at the grow table. Oh, tell you what, I feel like I need a haircut. Having some bad hair days these days. What do you reckon, guys? It's one of those funny things you get hat hair. Anyway, enough of that. Here's one of the trays I was talking about. There's a bottom tray there. Nice, lots of grid in it, lots of holes for the water to sump up through. And then we've got our bottom tray. And these ones fit absolutely perfect inside. Nice, tight fit. Now, I've also got my mix in here, which is 50% cocoa peat, 50% compost that I made at home. Now, you can use any type of fine potting mix, or you can just use cocoa peat if you're using a hydroponic medium to get your result. Now, I'm also using the cocoa peat, which you'll see. I've got my seeds here and trusty water bottle. It's pretty much all you need to get started to grow microgreens. If you want to do it this way in the trays, you're going to have to do a cut method though to take them to the restaurants or to eat for yourself. Now you can grow them in little pots if you want to at home using the same method, and that way you can just harvest small amounts at a time for yourself. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? So what we need to do now is just get this 50% cocoa peat compost in here. Now, I don't know if you can see that. Got little compost worms in here, and they'll live in here, no problem. And then this tray will get recycled and go back into the compost bin. So I find they survive in here. And what I do is I just flatten this out until it's sort of nice and even, about halfway up the tray. And I just remove any big chunky bits if they're closer to the top, they're going to affect the seeds. But what I do is I actually coat it, the top part, with cocoa peat. Now, you don't have to do this. I just find that this works really great. And what it does is it puts a nice fine layer for the roots to get their roots down into, and it holds the moisture really great. And it creates this sort of like level layer so I can really see what's going on with the seed. So I make sure the tray is pretty much 2/3 full. And once we're at that state and we get it nice and flat, well then it's time to add the seeds. But you've got to make sure it's really nice and flat first. That's really important. So did I mention that we need water? So I've got 2 litres here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in at the back, so you can see at the front here. And that's going to sump up all into this potting mix, or medium, as we like to call it. Now you don't want to overfill too much at first, but what we do is we want a sumping action to come in there, and then we get our seeds. Now, it all depends on how thick you want to go when you first start out. It's always better to go a bit thin. But what I like to do is just coat the whole lot by sort of holding it in my fingers like that, and I just sort of sprinkle it around. It takes a while to get used to this. I've done hundreds of trays, so more than probably hundreds of trays. So I've done it so many times. You can use a little teaspoon or something, anything, a little cup, anything that you feel comfortable with. You can even measure out the weight if you like. For me, as I said, I've done it so many times now. And I like to leave a little gap between some of the seeds, get as flat as possible as I can, until I sort of see it and I'm comfortable with the amount. So I've probably used about, not 6 handfuls, but I've gone in and sort of grabbed that small amount a handful of times to sprinkle it out onto there. Now, the water bottle here, it's a really good idea to mist them over just to get some moisture. You need warmth and water for seeds to germinate, right? And that's pretty much all you need ever to germinate a seed, depending on the seed variety of how much warmth and water it needs. Well, warmth is a major factor. So we get that nice and moist. Once that's nice and moist and it's starting to sump up through the water, we know there's going to be a connection to this. And then what I do is I've got a bit of vermiculite here, and I just sprinkle the vermiculite over the top so the seeds are just coated. Now my vermiculite got wet in the rain, so it's not sprinkling easy, so we'll do it by hand and get it over the whole lot. Now it doesn't matter if you can see 1 or 2 seeds here and there. It's just like putting a light mulching over the top. And also vermiculite, it holds a lot of moisture, and so it's going to lock in that moisture and help them germinate and help them also be a little bit protected from any of the elements. You don't have to have this. This is sort of, I have plenty of it and I do this professionally, so this is how I do it. You can cover them with a bit of the cocoa fibre, the cocoa peat, if you've got a good fine mix, and that'll work just as well. I like using this, is how I've been doing it for years now, and it's my favourite way to do it. And I find that when I put this product, or the end product, back into the compost, it makes a really good blend in the end there, because I've got compost, cocoa peat, and a little bit of vermiculite, goes back into the big worm farms. So yeah, very cool, all done. Now my vermiculite's wet, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a bit more of a spray anyway. Make sure it's nice and moist. That's looking pretty good. Happy with that. So the next part is what we call blackening out, where you cover them over. Now you can use a full blacked out dome. This one has got a few holes in it, lets a little bit of light in, a bit of airflow. I quite like that. Stops any mold problems that could occur. And the light's so small. It's all about getting these guys tall, a bit taller than usual, a normal seedling, so you can get some length to cut them and get some height and some beauty into the microgreens. So yep, these ones are going to go out onto the rack where I was showing you before, and they'll be ready in anywhere from 7 to 10 days. It just depends on the weather. Like in the middle of summer, 7 days, no problem. Spring, autumn, winter, anywhere between that 7 to 10 days, more on the 10-day end. 2 weeks if it's really cold, but where I live, it's generally only 10 days max. Pretty excited, eh? So we're about to get started to harvest these beautiful purple Sango radish microgreens. Just look how awesome they are. And man, I tell you what, they taste so good. Just like a radish, even a little bit sweeter, super nutrient dense, up to 40 times more potent than the parent material apparently. Now being a brassica, that's right up there, right? Like we know the health values also. It's like it's got all those purple antioxidants in there. This plant is killer to grow at home, and I eat it nearly every day. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this in half. Generally I get about 4 bags out of this. Now when you're growing these, this is a top tip for you micro farmers or getting started. You need to charge at least 3 times what it costs you to make this, right? So you want to be putting 1/3 away into your savings, 1/3 into your business, and 1/3 back paying to you. That way you always stay ahead, especially if there's a bit of a problem, you know, you need to go into your savings a little bit, you need to go back to your business, and that way you can just evaluate all your money and do it really well. That's a top pro tip from Micro Farmer, who's been doing that a very long time. That's how you survive, guys. Right, so let's get into the harvesting. Now I get down really low in here, as low as I can without touching any of the soil. I usually leave about half an inch, so 1.5 centimeters down below, and harvest these beautiful, look at the purple stems on them. They're just like these plants. They're just, it's just insane.
Right at home, doesn't well. Keep me dancing till I'm dead. 'Cause I could run a mile like this.
So when I do the drop off, I grab the coffee grounds for my compost so I can sell more compost and to grow more microgreens and really cool stuff. Right, I'm gonna go to the next place.
The sun has got me on my track. Never looking back. I ain't looking
So I'm at the Brewhaven Cafe. It's on the Campton Haven River at North Haven. It's a beautiful place. I've got my 3 bags of microgreens here ready to go. Invoice. And I remembered my mask this time. Sometimes I forget it. I've got to mask up before I go in.